Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. As we all know, Scotland is run by a Green government, backed up by the SNP. And of course, it's Green policies that keep failing because the SNP have no policies of their own. They keep using the Greens policies, and the Greens policies are stupid. It's not surprising. It's a party full of morons. But their latest wheeze is one that, when presented to the people, has been utterly rejected. The Greens are proposing that not only should 16-year-olds have a vote, but that 16-year-olds should stand as MSPs. It is completely ridiculous. 16-year-olds who've never lived, have no experience, have never done a day's work, being asked to decide on laws or the direction on how grown-ups should live their lives. I think far from allowing 16-year-olds to be MSPs, I think the age of being an MSP, an MP of any kind, should be increased to 35. You've got to have at least some experience of life before you can sit there and pontificate on the lives of others. We'll take a look at this article, see why the Greens have got it wrong again, and why the public are dead against what they are proposing. Here goes. So, Scottish Greens on wrong side of public opinion again, as Scots overwhelmingly reject plans for 16-year-old MSPs. The people have rejected it, but it doesn't mean it won't happen, because of course the Scottish SNP Green government doesn't necessarily listen to the will of the people. They kind of do their own thing because they think people are stupid and that they are never wrong. And so having proposed this, they can't go back on it and say, the people don't like it, let's not do it, because that would indicate that they were wrong and they won't have that. We all know this. Anyway, the Scottish Government consulted, and that's the thing, consulted, but they'll ignore the consultation. Anyway, they consulted on whether to allow those aged 16 and 17 to become MSPs and councillors, along with asylum seekers who have limited right to remain in Scotland. But these ideas were rejected by Scots. They might be, like I say, they might have been rejected by Scots, but, I wouldn't hold your breath that it's going to stop. It may well happen. The Scottish Greens are on the wrong side of public opinion once again, after Scots overwhelmingly rejected the proposal for 16-year-olds to become MSPs. The Scottish Government consulted on this as part of a potential electoral reforms, with the results coming back on Thursday. But there was negative response to these plans to extend candidacy rights for both the Scottish Parliament and local elections to 16 and 17-year-olds and also to foreign nationals with limited leave to remain. And this would have been put in place before the next elections and could still happen. Because they're desperate to remain in power, and they know if they can get the children in and they can get foreign nationals in with the promise that, hey, vote for us and we'll make you a Scottish citizen, no questions asked, then of course they're going to get the vote in. Thankfully, people have rejected it, but it doesn't mean it won't happen. Because these people currently in power, the SNP and the Greens, don't ever want to listen to the Scottish people. They want to do their own thing regardless, because it's a dictatorship, not a democracy. The consultation response revealed that this was not what the majority of Scots want to happen, with 77% of respondents being opposed to this. However, 67% and 88% of organisations were in favour. Of course they were, because they can then control these children. Which is something which usually happens due to lobbying groups being involved. Which we say, if you can get, this, how can we put this? Political organisations and religions both target children for the same reasons. If you can get hold of their minds and you conform and you brainwash them into going your way and you produce extremists. And what 16-year-old has ever lived long enough to know the reality of the world in which they live? They are hothoused and controlled by often predatory older men who go, do this, and then do this. Because we all know that predatory older men are rife within politics, particularly the Greens and SNP. Anyway, George Adam, who's the Scottish Government Minister for Parliamentary Business, put forward the plans so that Scotland can be an inclusive and vibrant democracy that makes everyone feel included and empowered. These are weasel words. He added, it's important as many people in our society as possible feel they have an effective and independent means to hold government to account, and also feel encouraged to take an active interest in politics and civic life. That's the last thing they want if these people are then voting against them. And that's why they want children, so that they can control them. Because after all, it's the SNP that control the education system. And they can push their policies onto children in school. And so children think that that is the norm. It's very, very seedy. It's very, very... How can I put this? It's almost as though they have an obsession with children, isn't it? We know they do. We've seen the questionnaires going out asking 5-year-olds how they masturbate and what they think about when they do it. Anyway, concerns were raised about potential safeguarding concerns for young people in Parliament, including effects on their education if they're needed full-time at the Scottish Parliament in Edinburgh. Critics also pointed out that to be able to make decisions, people needed to be mature. And there's the thing. They're saying, oh, these children, these little babies are mature enough to make decisions for, say, 47-year-old accountants and 56-year-old garage mechanics. And it's strange because they don't deem a 25-year-old mature enough to know the difference between having a good time and R-ing a child. It's a weird position to take, isn't it? How can you be too immature to know what you're doing when you're R-ing a child, and yet you're supposedly mature enough 9 years earlier to make decisions on the lives of people? Let's have an argument about that. Anyway, former Nat and sports journalist Jim Spence said, the 16-year-old suggestion is yet another example of the intellectual vacuum at the heart of a parliament which is increasingly short on logic and long on daft ideas. On one hand, our lawmakers want to tailor punishment for criminal offences because the brain supposedly doesn't develop fully until the age of 25. And on the other hand, they're suggesting folks 9 years younger than that could be debating and making complex laws. The proposals will still be considered by the SNP executive with a view to introducing a bill on electoral reform at some point next year. But the backlash to teenage MSPs has proven to be another example of how out of touch the Scottish Greens are. They're currently involved in a coalition with the SNP which has allowed them to push forward with unpopular and, I would say, bonkers ideas like the highly protected marine areas and banning gas boilers, and it has led to concerns among nationalists that they're making the SNP unpopular as well. Well, go figure that one, eh? Greens MSP Mark Ruskell previously called for candidacy rights to be expanded to those aged 16 and 17, and also for asylum seekers. He says everyone living in Scotland should have a say on how the country is run. Asylum seekers should never have a say on how a country is run. If they do not like the way the country is run, asylum seekers must seek somewhere else to live. They can have no say. You don't let your dog make the decisions on your house. Why should you let an asylum seeker do so? Someone with no vested interest in the country or its future. They didn't like where they lived the first time and were incapable of doing anything about it. They just ran away. So why should we let them have a say here? They were truly wanted, democracy and a right in their country. Send them back. Tell them to make them fight for it there. But they won't do that. And that's not what the agenda of the Muslim-in-Chief of Scotland says. After all, he just wants to flood the country with them. And why do you think he wants 2.5 million Gazans to come to Scotland? It is, in his words, too white. He obviously hates being in Scotland as well. If he doesn't like the culture, why does he remain? Anyway, we shall finish there and come up and round off the video. Here goes. Do you know, I'm pretty sure that there's a room somewhere filled with Green supporters just coming up with really bad ideas. It's the only explanation. They must know that people hate them. Why do they keep coming up with them? And why do they keep proposing them? And why do they keep trying to push them through? It must just be their constant push to increase misery upon the people of Scotland. They're a joyless lot themselves, and they think, why should anyone else be happy? I know. Let's make things worse. Let's have children running their lives. It's just so stupid. And yet there's a chance it might just happen. Let's hope that the UK government, Section 35, any plans like this and veto it. It's got to be wrong. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Hope this has been educational. Do please hit the subscribe button. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.